AITAH for giving my parents an ultimatum to go to therapy, or I won't talk to them again. Stay tuned. Seriously need some help because I'm torn. Female, 30. Some would say I'm morbidly obese. I would say I'm way more to love. You couldn't fit my huge personality in a small body. Winky face. I've been overweight my entire life, and in no way am I looking for any negativity, so if that's what you're here for, I know it's the internet, but as a plus size, I also have the right to freedom of speech, and also freedom to live, which has been hard to want to do lately. Anyway, I digress. I know my eating choices have been my decision, and I fully respect that, but I was also comforted with food from such a young age, so that's all I've known. Also, being 75% Italian doesn't help either. I've obviously been bullied my entire childhood about my weight, so when I'd come home from school crying I'd be comforted with a bowl of ice cream to make me feel better by my mother. She did what she could for me, put me on Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and a gym membership since middle school, when I became embarrassed of taking Jenny Craig lunches to school, while also being ridiculed. I was called ungrateful. Growing up, I've tried to build my confidence where I could. I've started telling myself to not give a shit what anyone says because it doesn't matter, but that voice grows silent at times and I try to rely on my friends, family, and close ones. I was lucky to have found my boyfriend when I did when I was 22, one of the most genuine people I've ever met in my life and knows exactly how to make me laugh, even on my worst days. I was very fortunate to have found him when I did, because 2 years later my brother had passed away from an accidental overdose. My family was already terrible with communication, so when we should have been coming together, my mother, as usual, just likes to sweep everything under the rug and pretend nothing ever happened just to move on, which I can understand. Everyone has their own way of grieving with things, and it's incredibly and excruciatingly tough on anyone, especially a mother. But I wish she would be more open to talking about how it affected her, because it not only affected her, but everyone in the house. My stepdad just wanted to do anything to make her happy, but it was also making him increasingly hard to talk to or be with because he would get overly irrational and mad over the slightest things. My boyfriend had been told by his parents he needed to be moved out of their house, and we had been planning on moving in together 2 weeks later. So rushed to do that, which drove the wedge between us even further. It was hard to grieve and be away from my parents, but at the same time I was fortunate I didn't have to be in the same house and constantly be tormented with the thought of him not being there. Eventually, it drove my parents to move to South Carolina 3 years later. Fast forward to Christmas, not the next year, but the year after, we had not seen each other since the Thanksgiving before they moved. They had offered up their house for Christmas since they had settled down for moving in. I was very excited because I had not been away from my parents for that long, ever. I had been talking to my parents almost every day on the phone on my drives home from work, and we would get hyped talking about playing all these games, having a gingerbread house making contest, a list of movies that we must watch, cookies we were going to make, all of the things that finally would make Christmas feel like Christmas again because it hadn't since before they even moved. COVID had happened, and we were sick for both Christmases, so this was the year we were going to do all of the festive things. My car needed to be inspected. It was long overdue because of COVID, and I didn't have the money to get the repair I needed to get the service light I needed off to pass inspection. So my parents told me they'd give me as my Christmas present, and told me I'd get little things when I got there, not only enough money to pay for my car to be repaired, but also for a rental car to drive down to South Carolina to not worry about getting that all done before I went down. The morning we were going down, my parents didn't send me the money for the rental, so I had paid for it, could barely afford to, but I paid for it. We had already been struggling since we moved in together and have not, and still not, have our heads above the waters we call debt, but we keep on. My boyfriend and I drive 9 to 10 hours from NJ to SC, with him and his road rage being super fun the whole time. We get to their house close to 9 to 10 p.m. on December 23rd. It's late, we're tired, we go to bed. We wake up the next morning, get ready to have the best Christmas Eve and festivities planned for us, and my parents are in other rooms, tidying up. My stepdad is outside with a dog. My mom is in her room reading. I thought it was weird when we had so many plans, plus didn't have time to catch up from the night before. My boyfriend says to not think anything of it, and we decide to go for a drive around to see the area. My stepdad drives us, but my mom stays home. He shows us around and how almost every store is mostly closed. There is nothing to do. I saw a Bojangles, which my stepdad had been talking to me about for weeks on the drives home, and asked if we can stop there for lunch. I had never had it before and was super excited to try it. We get home and sit down at the kitchen table. We had brought home lunch for my mom but didn't want to eat with us, and went into another room. Eventually, my stepdad leaves us all by ourselves, me feeling completely uncomfortable and unwelcome. My boyfriend reassures me that everything is fine, and to try and relax and have a good time. I felt like something had been off with my mom since I got there, but he was right. I wanted to make the best out of the time we had. We had driven an entire day to get there and spent almost $400 on a rental. We need to put on a happy face, which I'm ever so used to. My mom comes out to the living room as my boyfriend and I are on the couch watching a Christmas movie. She asked us to run to the store and get them some wine and beer, which made me feel right at home in the worst way. As if I was back at my old house and feeling disgruntled with my parents is when she asks me to do her a favor. Reluctantly, I said yes, my boyfriend promising me to get a sweet treat to make me feel better and try to brighten my day. The only other store aside from the gas station, which of course sold wine and beer, was Starbucks. I wanted to get my peppermint mocha frap, which to me screams Christmas. We come home, and my mom immediately has something to say about me getting a frap. Asking why I'm drinking a milkshake when I had just eaten so much before. How could I still be hungry and drinking that? She always gives me shit about what I eat or drink. It made me have to sneak in and eat food in my car or in my bedroom when I lived at home, so I was used to it. Again, trying to make a bad situation better, I ask if anyone wants to watch another Christmas movie with us. It winds up just being me and my boyfriend again, my parents completely avoiding us. This continued on the whole weekend. Christmas Day was even worse. I had gotten a unicorn makeup headband that was for a child, and this moonlight that I already had at home that I know they picked up at Five Below. Not trying to sound ungrateful, but I was also 28 when this happened. And no, I was still not paid back for my rental car at this point. Christmas Day went on as usual. When I asked if my mom was going to make Zeppels, like she is every Christmas morning since I could possibly remember, she got irrationally annoyed and my stepdad wound up making them for us because I kept saying it was tradition. My boyfriend convinced me at the table while we were waiting that we should stay even though everything inside of me was telling me to leave. I felt completely unwelcome and uncomfortable, and it was completely ruining my Christmas. I was lucky enough to even have the time off from work. I had to pull so many strings to make it work. My parents knew this, being that I had been talking to them for weeks before about how excited I was to come and glad I was even able to make it work. The next morning we immediately got up and went home. I cried the whole way home, feeling like I was an ungrateful brat for feeling like I should be glad I got to spend the time with them, even if I felt so off about the whole experience. A week or two go by, I hadn't talked to them, other than to tell them we got home safely. I got a call from my older brother after I had gotten out of work, who never calls me for anything unless it were serious. He asked me how it went when I went to go see our parents. I told him about how I felt uncomfortable and unwelcome, and he said that they told him to talk to me because they were concerned about how big I had gotten and were too scared to tell me themselves and feared I was going to wind up like my brother. How they were surprised by how much food I would eat, and specifically pointed out me requesting to go to Bojangles when my stepdad was the one to bring it up to me before we got there. I was completely taken aback when he told me I couldn't believe they couldn't just talk to me themselves. He said they didn't want me to get all mad and defensive like I've been said that I am. They say I'm a drama queen, and I'm overreacting whenever I talk to them about my feelings and try to confront them about what they did and how it made me feel. I can barely regulate my emotions as much as it is. I have serious anxiety and depression, also bipolar, and with research I've discovered there is something called highly sensitive person HSP, which means I feel things more deeply, an extreme empath if you will. I've been trying for years to work on myself. I've tried going to therapy, which didn't wind up working out, and need to go again. Also been reading a lot and doing a lot of inner work and diving deep at the root, which is where I've finally come to the ultimatum. This year will be 3 years since that Christmas. I haven't talked to my parents in 3 months. I've just grown tired of trying. To be completely honest, that's just what it comes down to. I'm tired of being the one that is always there for my mom to be a punching bag, cry about how she feels miserable being moved away from all of her family, how my stepdad won't let her talk when we're all talking on the phone. His prerogative has always been, I'm talking, you're listening. Just like Vin Diesel in The Pacifier, it's my way, no highway option. It's always what he has to say, and that's the end of it. No one else can have an opinion or question or go against him. because he is always right. Another driving force to get me out of the house, although I did feel that we were being rushed. The last time I talked to my mom 3 months ago, I was trying to open up to her about how I was feeling and that I wish we could try to get together more often throughout the year. Maybe try to talk my stepdad into renting a house so that we and my siblings could all finally have a family vacation together for the first time in over 10 years. I was trying to explain to her that we already don't see each other as it is, and each time we do talk on the phone, it's usually her telling me about her week, her crying about being so far away. Then when she starts to ask about me and how I'm doing, she gets distracted and always conveniently finds an excuse to hang up. It was happening every single time we talked, so I wanted to finally say something about it, and she, not kidding you, starts to laugh at me, telling me I'm being completely ridiculous and how I just need to get over it. When I started talking again, she starts screaming, "Stop, stop, stop," and how the cat got on the counter, and she was starting to say how she needed to go because the cat got on the counter, and I just hung up on her and haven't talked to her since. Ever since, I've been wanting to call her. But each time I do, I'm back and forth with myself with the thought, if she cared, she would want to make up with me and call me, or at least try to text me, Facebook me, anything. I texted my stepdad days before the phone call happened during the Olympics. I texted him how there's a NJ swimmer from a town I used to go to school in that he used to drive and pick me up from college, and he just thumbs up reacted to the text, and that was it. No message, no phone call, nothing. Just a thumbs up reaction. Couldn't even care to put in a shred more effort. I just feel like everyone in my family would benefit from therapy. I know I definitely need it. My sister, who's been sober for years and has been recovering, has been going to therapy and has been greatly benefiting from it. My brother, the diamond-encrusted platinum child, or so me and my sister call him, also goes to therapy. He's the platinum child because he's been the favorite ever since he stopped being a jerk-off and went to boot camp to join the Marines and wound up getting his doctorate in computer science, which we are all incredibly proud of him, but pretty much the only one that wound up doing something great with their life is the golden boy. He says we can't force them to go to therapy, and they need to be willing to do it on their own, but they're boomer set in their ways and don't feel like they need to talk about their problems. So I've been contemplating telling them that I'll consider having a relationship with them again if they seriously consider going to therapy and trying to help themselves. My mom has been using me as a therapist and telling me things that I probably shouldn't have known, even at such a young age, about her and my dad's relationship. I know she could really benefit from being able to talk to an unbiased third party and hearing an outside perspective. Please, if you've made it this far, thank you, but please, any advice would be greatly appreciated.